Ooh, spooky. What's up, fellas? Welcome back to another video. Today's video is going to be a little bit laid back, nothing too serious. Today, I wanted to talk about the resource packs that I personally use in everyday Minecraft, which, by the way, speaking of everyday Minecraft, got some copper stuff going on. The new hardcore episode is being worked on, and it'll be out sometime soon. But yeah, I get tons of questions about the resource packs that I personally use in Minecraft. And the reason being is because not every resource pack that I showcase on my channel is one that I personally use. So today, we're going to be talking about the 13 or so resource packs that I simply cannot live without. If you guys would like a version of this video, but for mods instead, let me know in the comments. But today, we're covering resource packs. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So kicking things off, I want to talk about a resource pack that I just found out about recently and haven't covered in a video as of yet. And it's one of those resource packs that I didn't know I needed until I first saw it. And that is, of course, Armor Stands Reimagined. Yes, as you can see here, this armor stand doesn't look all rinky-dinky, super thin, and could just fall over from the tiniest amount of wind being blown on it. No, this is a little bit more bulky, and it looks like it's meant to be able to hold armor. You'll also notice that mine has arms and whatnot, and if you're on Java, armor stands typically don't have arms without commands or anything, but I am using a mod called Vanilla Refresh, which just gives them arms by default. So, you know, if I wanted to, I could make it hold my sword. But yeah, this resource pack is fantastic. It makes armor stands look so much better than they previously did before. And this is one of those resource packs where now that I have it, I'm literally never gonna take it off. While on the topic of resource packs with the word reimagined in it, this is actually from the same creator because he has a larger resource pack called Reimagined, but this is also just one of those standalone pieces from it. But this is actually Creepers Reimagined, and in my opinion, I'm just going to give you guys a little hot take here. I don't like the creeper texture, the default one, that is. I think it looks really bad given the current art style of Minecraft, and this, in my opinion, is how the creeper should look. Now, I know a lot of people do bring up the Minecraft Dungeons creeper, which I can go and show you guys what that looks like, and here it is. And, you know, it looks cool and all, but it's just, I don't know, man, it's just a little cartoony, just a little too cartoony for Minecraft, in my opinion. And so with Creepers Reimagined, it's just got that little bit of extra texture on there, and it also retains the eyes, as you can see the little dots down there, retains the eyes as well, and it's just perfect. You know, creepers are supposed to be that mob that can really blend in with the grass, blend in with the leaves and stuff, and with the, you know, current texture that Mojang has, which is the old one, all of the white that's on the creeper by default just doesn't look that great. So whenever it comes to this or this, I'm just always going to take the reimagined resource pack instead. Since we're already on the topic of mobs, I feel like it's only fitting that we go ahead and talk about this next resource pack. And this is pretty big for me because I don't use creative a ton, and that is the Mob Crates resource pack. And essentially what it does is it changes all of the spawn eggs in the game into mob crates. It even changes the name as well. And essentially this just makes it easier for me to see which mob is which because I don't really have all of the eggs absolutely memorized. So instead, we just get little sprites of what the mobs look like, and it's way easier for me to be able to see what I'm looking at so that I can spawn in the mob that I want to. Next up for the video today, we have a resource pack that I had to configure myself, which is of course from Vanilla Tweaks. And if you guys want the exact settings that I have, I'll make sure to leave them in the description, but these are the important ones. This one is the brighter rib trim. Basically, the default version of this trim just looks super drowned out and dark and just really ugly. We also have classic netherite armor, which just makes netherite armor kind of in the same style as all the other armors. Maybe a hot take, I do not like the netherite armor texture, so that's why I run with this. I also have ashless campfires so that you can see through the bottom of them whenever they don't have a fire. That way it's really good for building. I have endless end rods, which makes it to where there's not like a little stub at the bottom of it, so if I want to make an endless light going in a straight line, I can. I have the golden helmet to golden crown. I have the clear leather armor, which if you guys don't know, like by default, if I were to have this on, there would be like a hello. there'd be like a brown streak going down the middle of the chest piece, which I don't really like. And it does that for multiple pieces, so I decided to have that installed. We also have alternate bedrock because kind of like the creeper texture, I feel like the bedrock texture is also really outdated, and this just feels more vanilla to me. I also have the circular logs, so instead of it being just a complete square, it's actually kind of in a circular pattern. I also have some GUI changes. As you can tell, if you look at the center of the screen, my crosshair is much smaller, and I also have the caret hunger bar at the bottom. The main reason for the caret hunger bar is because I just feel like there's too much red on the UI at one time, and I kind of wanted to, use the carets to kind of spice things up, add a little bit more color down there. We also have the colored enchantment runes, so if you take a look at these, you'll see that they are colored. Looks really nice, really subtle. And the last one that's of kind of a bit of importance is the bottle o enchanting actually has the texture of a throwable potion, whereas by default it looks like you can drink it, yet you can throw it. But yeah, those are all of the important vanilla tweak settings that I have. Now, keeping with the theme of resource packs that change up the GUI a little bit, the next one I want to talk about is called Recolourful Containers. Now, I've covered colorful containers on the channel before, but Recolourful Containers is basically a different rendition of the original. If you guys don't know, Colorful Containers comes from a creator from a really long time ago. I'll make sure to put his name on screen, but he hasn't developed the resource pack in a while, but gave permission to others if they wanted to continue his work and put their own spins on it. Now, this is Recolourful Containers, so it has a few different changes that you will notice, but the main one that you'll notice, and in my opinion, the reason that I use this one so much, is the inventory screen. Now, I get a lot of questions about this inventory screen, and that is, of course, Recolourful Containers that does this. It also has the recipe book, which is in the exact same color combination as you see on the UI, which just looks super sleek, super clean. We have the crafting grid right here, replicated with a crafting table. The armor pops out, your offhand area pops out, and my favorite is the area where, your character, your skin is standing is transparent, so you can see behind it, which I think looks super sleek. But I also show you guys some of the other textures, seeing as we are in this building and I have a ton of utility blocks to look at. A lot of these are pretty similar to other versions of Colorful Containers, but they are all pretty much redone, and I think that they all look super clean. But yeah, like I said earlier, the main reason that I use this is, of course, the UI. It just looks super clean whenever you're in your inventory. I just cannot get over how good it looks. But yeah, that's pretty much one of the biggest questions that I've ever gotten. What is that resource pack? It's called Recolourful Containers. Now, back on the hardcore world, have you ever thought about making your whole world look a little bit more alive, I guess? I mean, of course, you can do this manually if you plant yourself a bunch of flowers and if you put down a bunch of grass and everything in between, but what if there was a resource pack that you could install to just make the world look a little bit more detailed in some subtle ways? Well, we can do that with simple grass flowers. And what this does, it does this in multiple biomes, I believe also even in the Nether, is it will randomly generate across all of the grass and, the terrain in your world, a little bit of flowers here and there, maybe some stones here and there as well. And it's a super clean way to just make the world look a little bit more lived in without you needing to specifically do a lot of the work. I really do like the stone texture here, because if you are trying to build up a civilization, like if I go and head on over to my town and I look around, you'll see that sometimes I do plant these stone buttons on the ground to basically signify little stones. And with this resource pack, it'll also generate those as well, just for a little bit more added detail. And like I said, this also works in the Nether and in a ton of different other biomes that aren't just plains and forests. So yeah, it gives a super clean look to your Minecraft world. Next up, I want to talk about a resource pack that makes the enchanted items in your inventory just look so much better, and that's called Enchant Icons. You'll actually notice that whenever I highlight any of my gear pieces, you'll see that there is an icon associated with the enchantment that I have, and there's all sorts of different colors that come along with it too, which in my opinion, I don't know, it just activates something in my monkey brain, and it's like, man, that looks really cool. I like that. And it just looks super clean. I think it's really cool. It adds a little bit of flavor, adds a little bit of character to a lot of the enchants that you have on your gear whenever you're taking a look at them. And yeah, there are a ton of different icons. You'll actually see if we come down here and I look at, you know, the channeling icon, it actually has a trident right next to it to basically say, hey, if you're dumb or don't play Minecraft, this is specifically for the trident. Same thing for piercing. This is specifically for the crossbow because it has a crossbow icon there. It's a really cool quality of life change if you don't know much about Minecraft, but for me personally, I just like it just because it looks cool. Now, out of all the resource packs that we've talked about today, this one is probably the most important. I just punched a tree. This was probably the most important and is probably one that the most people imaginable are ever going to ask me because it's always on the screen, and that is 𝗏𝗏's capitalized font. Now, I'm not saying that the base Minecraft font is ugly, but I think 𝗏𝗏's capitalized font looks a little bit better. So I'm going to show you guys these signs with the resource pack on. This is a sign to show you an example of the font pack that I'm currently using. Also, you should subscribe. Thanks. P.S. I don't have anything else to say, just trying to waste your time. Now, if we go ahead and move on to the default, you'll instantly notice that, well, it's not really that much different, but I do like the capitalized font pack a lot. I just think it looks super clean, and it still, I didn't mean to do that. And it still stays within that same kind of Minecraft, vanilla Minecraft feel, you know? But yeah, it's not like you need capitalized font, but I mean, I think it looks cool, and I'm gonna use it forever. Up next, we have the title screen, which this resource pack isn't really that big of a deal, but like I said, these are ones that I personally use, so many of them don't have that big of an impact. But this is called Vintage Panorama, and I'm not really a fan of the panorama changing all the time between updates. There are some that I like more than others, of course, but I don't really like the trial chamber one. It looks a little dark, a little dreary. I just don't really jive with that, but I really like this one. It has the nice green grass, the blue skies, the blue water, and this just perfectly captures the feeling of Minecraft to me. And yeah, I just think it looks beautiful, and I really like it. I've been rocking this one for a long time now. Moving on to our next resource pack, we have fancy crops. Now, before I started using fancy crops a lot, I was actually using a resource pack called 3D crops. And to be honest, I do like the look of 3D crops a little bit more than fancy crops. But what I did notice that whenever there was a lot of 3D models with these crops, it kind of took a little hit to my frame rate. And I really like that. I mean, I already use shaders and whatnot, so I don't need anything else trying to tank my frames. And what I did notice is that fancy crops is basically the vanilla crops, but they look a little bit better. As you can see with these potatoes, they kind of grow in different ways. They got flowers growing off of them. The beetroot looks a little bit more fleshed out and nice. The wheat has varying heights and stuff, looking really cool, as well as the carrots as well, being similar to the beetroot and just being kind of spread out and look, you know, kind of like a little bit of a randomness to it. You know what I mean? Not every single crop looks the exact same, and it would make for really cool fields if you were to build a lot of these in like a natural setting, which is something I'm going to do in the near future. But yeah, these are just absolutely insane. They don't really do anything to negatively affect your frame rate, at least in my experience. And yeah, I think they look really cool, especially the potatoes. As I'm sure many of you guys have already seen in the background of today's video via various items, this next resource pack, like I said, you guys have been seeing for a minute now, is called Animated Items. And what it does is it just adds a little animation to a lot of the different items in the game. So like with the netherite sword, you'll see a little shing come off of it right now. Looks really cool. Same thing going with a lot of the shinier blocks, the glowing ink sac, which you'll see has a little bit of, you know, glowiness. The blaze rod and the breeze rod will also do the same thing, as you can see. And then we also have some sparkles on the golden apples as well. It's just, you know, a little bit of subtlety, and that's just kind of what I like in a lot of these resource packs. It just adds a little bit of life to your world. For our next resource pack, we have a little known, and by little known, I mean very popular, resource pack known as Fresh Animations. Now, I do get questions all the time about Fresh Animations, talking about how do you use this resource pack without Optifine? I use Fabric for everything you see on my channel, and all you need, if I recall correctly, is Entity Model and Entity Texture Features, which are two separate mods that you just put in your mod folder, and that allows you to use Fresh Animations. I see tons of stuff all the time of people trying to tell me, oh, I don't use Optifine, why do you have to have Optifine? yada, yada, yada. You don't have to have Optifine. You just run those 2 mods. You can run fresh animations just fine, as you can see here. And yeah, it's a super cool resource pack. It will affect your frame rate. So if you do have a, you know, not beefy PC, do keep that in mind. But it does make your world feel super alive. And honestly, I think it would be super cool if 𝗏𝗍𝗃 could figure out a way to get this in the game by default. Except, you know, make it not destroy your frame rate, but it does look super cool. It looks just like the trailers. And lastly, for the video, we have our final resource pack, and this one is just, it's just really dumb. And it's the only resource pack I use to actually help me within the game. It's called Sus Sand. I mean, listen, all right, I'm pretty dumb. All right, and it's hard for me to really tell the difference a lot of times between suspicious sand and suspicious gravel. And if I'm ever doing any kind of archaeology stuff or anything like that, I don't know. I don't really have an eye for that kind of stuff. So Sus Sand, unironically, is one of my it's one of my favorite resource packs. Okay, it helps out a lot with this kind of stuff, so I don't have to go through the horrible atrocities of breaking the suspicious sand or gravel whenever I'm trying to get a stupid sniffer. And yeah, I don't know, I just think this is the funniest way to go about making archaeology easier, so I really like it. It looks really stupid, but you know, it doesn't really matter. It's not necessarily the most vanilla plus resource pack you're gonna find, but if there's any way that I can put a crewmate in Minecraft and get a good laugh out of it sometimes, then I'm probably gonna do it. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for watching today's video. Hope you all enjoyed. A little bit of a different style today, as I just went over some personal enjoyments as far as resource packs is concerned. But again, like I said in the beginning, let me know if you guys want a video just like this for mods specifically instead of resource packs, and I'll make sure to get that to you guys. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you all next time.